I've done a number of videos about Wright brothers' history, but I have never come and visited them at their final landing spot here at Woodland Cemetery, Dayton, Ohio. This is where Wilbur, Orville, their sister Katherine, and both of their parents rest. This is the grave of their mother, Susan Wright. She had been a very intelligent woman, and it's often said that they probably got their mechanical ability from her. She was kind of a tinkerer in her own right. She had a fairly long, slow, drawn-out death. She became ill, and it took a number of years for her to pass. And it's said that Orville forego going to college to help take care of his mom as in those last several years, despite his desire to go to the university. Milton Wright was the boy's father and was able to witness not only their success in flying, creating the first airplanes, but also was alive when his son Wilbur passed away. Wilbur Wright was the older of the two boys. Wilbur passed away. He had typhoid fever and died there in, what would that have been, about 45 years old. He had been over on the East Coast, and this was a time before antibiotics, and they think that he got sick there and came home, and eventually he passed away. And his brother Orville was just never the same after that. That was really his partner. Katherine was the boy's younger sister, and neither of the boys married, and she wasn't married until later in life. So she did a lot of the things at the house that the boys normally, maybe a wife would have done. She was kind of took the place of a wife in a lot of ways. I don't think every way, but she was good to them. And of course, Orville, the second half of the Wright brothers, the younger of the two brothers, and the only one of the kids to live into, more of a normal life expectancy. He died in his mid-70s. And he had a pretty good life, including inventing the airplane. Pretty incredible. Now, Orville was severely injured in a crash in the late 1900s, and he lived in quite a bit of pain after that crash, and often was seen using a walking stick or cane. Katherine had been a teacher. She was actually the only one of the three who had gone to the university and gotten a degree. She was a teacher, and she took a couple of sabbaticals, but her last leave she stayed teaching. She taught up until Orville had his crash. And when she got word that he'd had his crash, she quit, and she went to take care of him and nurse him back to health. I thought it was interesting that people who had had such an impact on history, inventing the airplane, that they don't have an even more extravagant gravesite. I guess you really don't need it once you're gone. It's a very nice plot, but for two men who had accomplished such a feat and were so famous throughout the world, I don't know, I almost expected something even more extravagant than what's here. The Wright's plot here at Woodland Cemetery is pretty easy to identify because of the flags. Most grave markers here do not have American flags quite so tall flying over them. There are a number of famous people that are buried at this cemetery in addition to the Wright brothers. The guy that invented the electric car starter, the guy that invented the easy open pop top that we still have today on beer cans and Coke cans, that pull tab to open deal. The guy that invented that is here. And probably my favorite, the guy that invented Cheez-Its, the cheesy cracker. He's here. Paul Laurence Dunbar, the poet, is buried here at the cemetery. And there's a number of others. But nobody quite like the Wright brothers. So it seems like a very fitting resting spot for a couple of guys that accomplished so much in the world. I'll see you down the road.